And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope everyone enjoyed those duct tapes from times gone by. I will update them soon. It's been a while since we've rotated away from the Spanish duct tapes and towards some of the other ones instead. So I'll get on it. I'll get on it. But we're ready for the lower semifinals. I also have my tea. I have my tea. It's scalding hot though, so I actually haven't been able to get my lips on it, but soon TM, as I burn my oh my god I burn my fingers trying to handle it. But yes, my tea is ready and we are getting sorted for our next series for Dark versus Cure. As a reminder, Hero is ready and waiting. Hero is waiting in the grand finals for the winner of this very series, for the winner of either the winner being either Dark or Cure. Of course, it's great to see Cure. It's a joke that we make a lot, or that I make a lot, here for the KSL, but usually Terran players are a rarer sight in the Korean Starcraft League. The reason for that is because the KSL is much earlier in the day. It's at noon, midday in Korea, and that is too early for a lot of players. That is too early for a lot of Terran players. Because of that, Byun, Maru, Kyor, they're not as active in the KSL, except for this week. This week we have Cure. We have the Cure. We have a Terran. Let's go. Still no Byun though. He's waking up a little bit later. It's fine. I'm sure we'll be causing plenty of Byun in ESL Asia, which is of course going to be in a couple of days. But at least we have Cure available for this event. Cure, he was gracious enough to wake up early for this tournament, to wake up at noon, and he's going to provide a very solid series. Cure, I would say, is one of the best Terrans in Korea right now. Arguably top 2. Arguably it's Maru and Cure as the best Terrans, and then like Byun coming in third. I know there are some Byun purists that love him, and I love him too. I love Byun too, but we can't deny just how on fire Cure has been compared to Byun. Cure, he is the runner-up of Gamers 8, and he's the runner-up of Masters Coliseum. How many second places does Cure have to get for people to notice him? he just keeps coming second in all these major tournaments, and like no one is batting an eye. Everyone's like, oh, Maru's so good, and you've got Cure making it to the finals just time and time again. So Cure, he has been really proving himself in our most recent Premier events, and yeah, we'll see how much further we can go. I do think that Cure is the one to keep an eye on coming into both this season of GSL and DreamHack Winter as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table here this week against Dark. Let's go. Byun is the Alpha and the Omega. Oh, what's above that? What am I thinking of? Does that make Cure? Is he Sigma? Is that what's above that? Is that how that works? I don't know. I don't keep up with it. But here we go. We're getting into our second semifinals, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing himself. It is Cure. Not even got you're coping, Emperor Fubu. You're coping. It's okay. We like the cope here, buddy. We like it. Aye. As Cure is going back to what he was once known for. Interesting. So Cure is very fond of the 2-racks opener into a 3cc setup as well. We haven't seen that in quite some time. I think a lot of that is because of the smaller maps. We have learned the hard way that these smaller maps are a little bit more difficult to hold on to, especially against Roche-based play. It is going to be a hatch first here from Dark. Cure did throw down his first deeper here on the high ground though, which did throw me off. Interesting. Okay. As Cure is going for a Rax expand, not for a 2 racks opener. So Cure is mixing it up. This is really interesting. Okay, so I was correct earlier when I said that we haven't seen Cure go for the 2 racks in a while. It was very trendy. The Beyond opener, the 2 racks on the low ground opener was very trendy for a good, what, 4 months. But Cure has fallen off it. He has diverted his attention elsewhere in recent times. And this is just really interesting to me. So it's a racks expand into a second racks on the high ground, which is going to be hidden, by the way, especially with this Marine first. The Marines are out. Rax is going to be hunting down this Overlord as well. We're going to be keeping Dark in the dark. He has no idea what's going on. Again, just a standard opener from our Zerg player, and Cure is doing a great job at keeping this hidden and great job at hunting down this Overlord as well. As I say that, the Overlord is looking to escape. It does have another pillar. Up. Oh my god. And the Overlord should barely up. Barely does escape with 13 HP. It gets away, and we do not have high ground. We cannot kill it. We invest. There we go. At this point, there's no turning around. We have to invest. We have to commit. And Cure will eventually kill this Overlord. Behind this, Roach Warren is being rushed out from Dark. No fear. This is Dark we're talking about. He has no fear. He has nothing to hold him back. To chain him up, he is the one who chains. And this is going to work really well. I was talking earlier. The big weakness behind these builds here, these big Marine heavy compositions, is Roach timings. Roach timings, it can be really difficult to deal with them, especially because we're delaying tank production as the game goes on. I mean, like I'm talking about like a 3-base 1-1 all in from the Zerg. Before that can even happen, though, we have 6 Roaches on the way, and unlike a standard setup, there's no wall. Like, usually the Raxes will be down here on the low ground, and once we scout what's going on, we can throw down bunkers and we can defend. But Cure has 0 scouting information. He sees nothing. No SCV scouts, no Reapers, no nothing. He has no idea what's going on, and he isn't ready for it. Dark, he's sending all of his Roaches across the map, and without stim, with these upgrades as well, they're delayed later than they usually are. Just because we had to throw down additional Raxes instead, and Cure, he's going to lose control of his low ground. He should lose control of his low ground. We'll see if he can hold on. As Marines are going to be pushing on forward. Lyles are zoning them away. Oh, these Deepers are exposed. And at least one of these Deepers is going to go down. Say at least one. We're going to be losing the second as well. And the third. Cure heavily supply blocked. He's going to engage and he does get 1-2 Roaches. This is not a fight that Dark can take. Yeah, Dark bleeding out a little bit too much here. He did get 2 Deepers in the end, but he is going to be forced back. A good cleanup by Cure. Looking at the unit loss. Okay, so he killed 7 Roaches, 1 Ravager for 10 Marines and 2 Deepers. A more efficient trade from Cure, and now Stim is about to kick in. He's moving out across the map. Dark back at home. Does have 8 Roaches in production. He's bringing forward his Queens as well. Can Dark survive this? It's going to be a close hold, especially with Stim kicking in. Here we go. Reduce someone forward. 1 Roach barely goes down. Clutch transfuse. Gets 2 Roaches, gets a Queen before being forced back. And I mentioned earlier, the scary thing in my mind is the 1-1 timing, and we'll see if we head in that direction. As Cure, he throws down his 3rd CC on the location. The pressure is on. The pressure is on Cure. He's going to be cutting some corners. I do appreciate that he's starting tank production now. I do think he needs as many tanks as possible. There are those Evo chambers on the way. And the game will settle. The game will settle from here. As Curie is working towards a 5th Rax. Trying to get his 3rd up and running. Again, this is a late third base, so the fact that it's on location, you know, whatever we can get, ever help we can get. There's that 1-1 in production for Dark. Now, Dark has options here. He could try to hit a timing with roach speed and 1-1, or he can just use this as a stepping stone and get a fourth base, get it saturated, work towards an infestation pit, and defend instead. We'll see which route Dark goes for. So double drop does come into the main base. The Marines, they do damage up the Queens. 1, 2 Queens go down. Good pickoffs. But Curious going to be losing some of these Marines, as he did lose a medevac, and Dark is going for a longer game. He throws in a macro hatch, he's droning up his fourth base, and he throws down an infestation pit as well, so he will not be hitting a timing with 1-1. He's going for a longer game. We have a ZvT. We do have a ZvT on our hands. Cure just building up his third base, working on his own double drop. He's going to have one drop here on the left-hand side. He's going to have a double drop on the right. Oh, Dark is supply blocked. Brutal supply block, actually. 3 Overlords on the way. 4 Overlords on the way. Oof. Dark is in position. He does deflect these drops. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't throw down, or we didn't work towards any infestors. Oh, no, there we go. I was like, where are the infestors? Okay, 2 infestors are on the way. They will keep Dark safe. With this Hive tech, we can actually head towards Lurker tech. Lurkers will be available. As even before we get into Lurkers, I feel like Vipers are probably a must for Dark. As he tries to solidify himself. As he tries to set up here on these bases. And there they are. Vipers in production. The reason why I was prioritizing Vipers, or emphasizing Vipers, is just because that's the anti-air that Dark has. He has no Hydras, he has no Mutas or Corruptors. Parasitic Bombs are going to be what really deflects these drops. Or they're going to be the best way they can deal with these drops for the time being. Outside of their other uses, of course, with their Blinding Clouds and Abductions. Meanwhile, Curie just fortifying himself back at home, building up his tank counts, working on a fourth base. We are on Gresvan, and Cure, he can, of course, fortify himself and defend quite well on this map. Look to cut the map in half. Look to slow the game down to a crawl. Oh, we do have a Spire on the way, so I was kind of assuming that we would head towards Lurkers, but no. I like this a lot more. I mean, of course, we don't have +2 range on the way, so that is a bit of a tell that we aren't heading towards Hydras. But Corruptors, we're kind of skipping some steps here, and this will be granting access to some Broodlords for Dark. So it looks like Dark, he is really expecting this game to go on a little bit longer. He's just getting ready for it. Getting ready for that split map scenario. As Curie's just throwing down sensor towers, tank lines, more CCs, more planetaries, turrets as well. Again, it's all we expect to see here on Gresvan. But Dark, he has arrived. The Vipers are here as well. Good Blinding Clouds on the Marines. And the third base is going to be broken. Oh, but some big snipes on the Vipers. Dark overextending a little bit, but he is getting on top of these tanks. Oof. Yeah, not the best trade from Dark. He got a couple of workers, looking at the unit source tab. Got a couple of workers, he got 1 tank. He did get rid of a lot of roaches, which he needed to, but I'm not too sure if that's really the way he wanted to get rid of those roaches. as he's remaxing with Lingbane. Greater Spires on the way for those Broodlords that we were talking about. Hydroden as well, so we can get into Lurkers. We're just taking up in every direction because we need to. And Dark, he's just trying to maintain his creep as he takes more bases. So as the game goes on longer here, it's going to be really difficult to break these positions. It's almost a sure thing that Cure takes his center base. We can vie for control of the center, and if we can deny this base, then we can break into the base behind us, and of course the natural as well. But especially if Dark is accepting this game state, this is important. He needs these fringe bases. Very important for him to hold on to and take from some of the bases that technically belong to Cure. He needs to take these minerals away from the Terran before the Terran can get here. Whether it's this base towards the south or this center base as well. Now, on Gressfond, it's really difficult. Like, especially because Cure has the high ground. Like, there's high ground right next to this hatchery, so it's typically very difficult to actually mine from this as a Zerg player, but Dark, he's going to try his best. Very similar situation here with the center base. Yes, Cure, he does immediately force a cancel. But the center base is also difficult just because of the proximity from the rest of these main bases here from Cure. But anything that Dark can mine from this is going to be a plus. It will be a bonus. Likewise, taking this southern base does grant access to the main, especially with Broodlords. You can start getting on top of the production. There we go. The rocks are being knocked down. Center base towards the north is going to be cancelled as well. Cure, again, thinking ahead of time, just making sure that he doesn't allow these bases to be taken by the Zerg. Again, these are the most crucial bases, to be honest. Cure even trying his luck at going for one of the hatcheries of Dark. It's going to trade well. Here we go, the Broodlords have arrived. These are 0-0 Broodlords, so not the best upgrades, unfortunately. There's only one Spire, so we're only making one upgrade at a time. But the Broodlords have arrived. The Snipes! Oh, the Snipes do connect, but we have the Fungals as well. Big Fungals on the Ghosts. And what was that? 4 Ghosts go down in the blink of an eye. Good trade for Dark. Ay, ay, ay. Do you see the Broodlords pushing on forward here towards this southern base as well? Do we have a battle? I was like, do we have a battle report? No, not quite. But the Broodlords, they're gaining a lot of ground. And again, Cure just lost too much too early on. And more Fungals will be connecting once again on every single Ghost. Oh my god. The Ghosts, they barely do manage to pull back. Vipers, they arrive once again, throwing down those power bombs. And Dark, he's just bullying Cure back. Trying to bait out those Snipes, and then we go another Fungal. Does catch some of those Ghosts, and here we go. The Lingbane is rolling on in, crashing into tanks, not the best connections, but he's going for the Ghosts. He's trying to make a beeline for those Ghosts. He will not connect with them. But he does give himself enough breathing room here to just push on forward and take down 22 SCVs before Dark pulls back. Dark pulls back, he has to remax. He's working on +2 range. Second Spire is about to finish for those upgrades. Infestors are being rebuilt. And Cure, he has time here to also rebuild. He's given time to breathe. Re-establishing these bases, rebuilding those SCVs. Dark, though, he is just unrelenting. Shows up once again. Oh, is going to lose a Broodlord in the process. 2 Broodlords, actually. Bit of a loss there for Dark. But again, he has been trading well. He's been keeping Cure on a low economy. Cure doesn't have a bank, that's why he hasn't been able to remax. And Dark needs to hit before that can happen. before Cure can stabilize. Here we go. Planetary has been spotted, and Darky's going right for said planetary. He doesn't have to waste his Banelings. Hydras will deal with them. Who has once again some good fungals. Takes down a Ghost. Takes down a Ghost, takes down a planetary. And Darky's not done. He wants to rotate around. He wants to go for this mining base here from Cure. Orbitals will be lifted, and Dark is going to commit. I'm not too sure about this. And Banelings, they do get taken out, and Dark does overextend. But here we go. Once again, we're going to try to throw down some fungals. Cure coming in from behind, having a better angle. He collapses on this army. He takes down every single Broodlord. But Dark wasn't remaking Broodlords. He's working on those upgrades, don't get me wrong, but he's focusing on a Lingbane Hydra composition instead. Something more mobile, more flexible. Miles will land, but the snipes are popping off. Big snipes here on the Hydras. Meanwhile, the base they roll on 4. They take down almost every single Ghost. What is that? 2 Ghosts are left? Wow, only 2 Ghosts remain. A big overextension there from Cure. He exposed his Ghosts to snipe Hydras, which again, they were just not the best trades. Cure, he's got a lot of rebuilding to do. Now, because the Ghost count is low again, because there are no Thors either, there's only 1 Thor, we could see a tech switch back into Broodlords. It could work well. This is typically what the Zerg player needs to be doing. Like, again, Dark, he was working on those Broodlord upgrades, but he's switching into Ground Zerg or into Hydras. Then from here, he'll switch back into Broodlords, forcing Cure to be off balance when it comes to his army composition. Right now, with all these tanks, he does have a pretty good army against the Mass Hydra, but Dark, he avoids the tanks. Finds another way in. And he will get a kill on both of these CCs. Both orbitals go down, and you can see, as Dark is losing his army, Corruptors. Corruptors are on the way. He is planning on that Broodlord switch. Meanwhile, Cure, he's just building tanks. Just stuck building tanks, not building Thors. Meanwhile, Cure, he has gotten this center base. He's not mining from it, but he is taking control of this area, and that is going to be a really important moment for him. No one is mining from the south. He's looking to commence mining here at the center base. There we go, 8 Broodlords are in production. And there it is. We scan immediately. Thors are on the way, but it may just be too late. These scans were so important, and again, Cure, he gets a read on what's going on. But the Broodlords have arrived, and the Thors, they're not here. This is the moment for Dark to take advantage of Cure. It's going to be rotating around. Again, he does have Neurals available on these Infestors. Vipers leading the charge. They get on top of that one Thor. They take it down. Tanks are getting picked off one after the other. The Ghosts are being forced back as a result. And this center base will not mine. Here it is. The Ghosts are getting ready. So the Infestors. Up. And there we go. One snipe goes off, but the Fungal also connects. The ebb and flow here of the snipes and the Fungals. Thors are arriving. They're trickling in. They're being made 3 at a time. And 2 have arrived. Really delicate control here from Dark. He doesn't want to overextend with those Broodlords. The Vipers are coming in, and their goal here, I'm pretty sure, are going to be those Thors. And there we go. One Thor goes down. So here come the snipes, and a little bit late on those fungals. Yeah, things getting a little bit chaotic. Stark is forced back once again. He's forcing some friendly fire. Another snipe goes off. Some clutch transfuses keeping the Broodlords alive. And Dark, he's remaxing with Lingbane Hydra, and here we go, he's pulling in. He's pushing in with everything he has. Enough tanks have gone down. Neurals as well on these Liberators. And Dark, he's looking to just completely swallow up this army. Takes down the Ghosts, takes down the Thors, takes everything down. The Broodlords survive, and Dark he just picks that army apart. Oh my god. There was a long build-up for that. Just constant dancing with the Broodlords, transfuses, snipes, abductions. And Cure, his army melts. And just like that, Dark, he's busting on through, takes down the last Thor. And he will clean up what is left of this army. GG gets called. Dark takes game number 1. Oh my god, that was intense, Poppy. Oh my god. GG. GG, well played. Oh, very careful control there from Dark at the very end there, again, just forcing his way through. But to wind it all back, a big reason as to why Dark's Broodlords were being as dominating as they were, or domineering as they were, a big reason for that is because of how many tanks Cure made. We were talking about it at the time, about how Cure, he didn't know about the Broodlord switch. He didn't know that that Dark was transitioning out of Hydras again and back into Broodlords. Because of that, he only had one Thor. And by the time Cure scanned, and by the time he saw that there was a wave of Broodlords on the way, as soon as he saw that, he started Thor production, but it was too late. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to make Thors, and he was already about to max out on almost purely a ghost tank army. Not the best army composition, and Dark, he was able to abuse that. He was sniping those Thors as soon as he could with those Vipers by abducting them in. And he never allowed Cure to have more than 2 Thors at a time. He never allowed the Thor count to really get out of control. Otherwise, Cure would have had a much easier time forcing back the Broodlords and forcing back the Vipers as well. It would have been a very different dynamic there. So again, a lot of it did come down to just the tech switches and the constant shifts with the army composition of Dark. GG. GG, well played. Whew. And now we're getting into game number 2. Let's go. Let us go. Can confirm. Hello, Frost. Hello. Good morning, Papi. Good morning. And we are getting into this, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Neo Humanity, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing himself down in the series. It is Cure. Here we go. I haven't had any of my tea yet. Beautiful. But yeah, once again, it was also a really interesting opener from Cure as well. It was very unorthodox, going for the racks on the low ground into CC, into racks on the high ground. Like, it was a really fun game. It was a really fun game 1. But as we get into game number 2, Cure is going for a much more standard opener. We've spoken about this before, but if you haven't been here for some of the previous broadcasts over the past month, basically 2-Rax openers on Neo Humanity have fallen out of fashion. They have fallen out of fashion. Players like Dark, Solar, Cyril, they have figured it out, and on a map as small as Neo Humanity, these 2-Rax openers, they struggle. They struggle a lot just because of how aggressive you can be with roaches and how difficult it is to hold on to your third base. So, as a result, Cure and even beyond, they've stopped going for 2-Raxes on Neo Humanity entirely and gone back into standard Rax expands. So the meta has shifted, especially on some of these smaller maps. I mean, we have new maps on the horizon anyway, but it is still really cool to see like the meta shift and evolve, and certain playstyles like figured out in a way, and you know, rise and fall in popularity. It's been really cool. Really cool to see. Meanwhile, something else that has been really popular on Neo Humanity, mainly Dark does it, Ragnarok has been dabbling with it, Cyril has done it as well, and if you notice something, that's a fast third base, a very fast third base from Dark. How can he afford it? Well, no gas. There's a gasless opener here from Dark, and this is something that you can uniquely do on Neo Humanity. The reason for it is because of how defensive this map is. Essentially, because there are so many choke points, and because there are because there are so few entryways into these bases, it's really easy to defend with Queens against Hellions and Reapers early on. It doesn't take too much to defend this location here and defend this southern location as well, just because there's not really a lot of room for the Hellions to maneuver around. And as a result, you can afford to skip link speed and to be a lot more heavily reliant on Queens to defend early on. So Dark has become very fond of this gasless opener here on Neo Humanity, as have a lot of the other Zerg players as well. As Cure is being forced back. Behind this, it is going to be a 3cc opener, very economic. It's going to be Rax into Factory, into CC, followed by that Starport. So very economic from our Terran player, very standard as well. Nothing too fancy other than this fast Cyclone. We should be working towards a medevac as well. Now this is something unique to Cure. I say unique to Cure, I think I've seen Maru do this as well. But it's a variation of 3cc into Starport. You don't go for the add-on switch. Instead of going for a Banshee, you go for a Cyclone first into a medevac. This is a way to gain map control and to shut down these overlords. This is basically like an overlord hunting party, and you can maybe get a queen. Maybe. As the first overlord is found and is under threat. Okay, we shouldn't be forced to scan. There we go, the first overlord goes down, and we should be looking to hunt down a couple of others. Meanwhile, Dark is now aware. He saw the Cyclone, and he should be pulling back his overlords. And there we go. The overlords are being pulled back home. Meanwhile, because Dark did go gasless, typically you skip link speed. There we go. Link speed was skipped, and we're going straight into roaches instead. So Dark going for a roach heavy style. We'll see if Cure can find another overlord, as he goes straight to the main. Now, these are vanilla Marines. They're not the most potent, but what is potent is the Cyclone, and he gets a lock-on on a Queen. Will not get the Queen in the end. But he will get a couple of drones. 2 drones, not too bad. No! We left someone behind. Ryan. Oof. F's in the chat. Cure does get a second overlord at least. At the same time, roaches go for a big counterattack. They ignore the army. And what do we have at home to defend? Not a lot. Stim is not done. Marines are coming out. SCVs are falling left and right. That Banshee is going ham. But it's got a lot of hand to do. Oh, as this is game-ending damage. 14 SCVs. And counting. 16, 17, an entire mineral line has gone down to these roaches, and Dark, he's perfectly safe back at home. Like, he's fully saturated on 3 bases, he's taking additional gases, he's finally being cleaned up, but he kills 20 workers. Oh my god. And of course, this is the downside of this build from Cure. Because he was being so active, because he was being so proactive by hunting down these overlords, I mean, this did delay Banshee production. This did delay, or this skipped Hellion production because he went for the Cyclone instead. Very little map control, very little map presence. And Dark does take advantage of Cure, of his opener. Looks like he'll get a third Overlord. Supply blocking Dark. It's not too bad. But this drop is going to get cleaned up. There's no way to save it. Cyclone goes down. If the medevac tried to save it, it would just die. So Cure just stuck between a rock and a Dark. The Banshees, they got a lot of work to do. Do have a lot to do. So they are being forced back. Here, just getting up to, we're trying to recover economically, trying to resaturate his bases, getting into a 5-rack setup, commencing tank production. The Banshees, they did force a cancel on this center base, on the 4th base even. That is something. And Dark is not cutting workers. Interesting. So Dark had the option. He had the option to cut workers at 3 base saturation and go for a big all-in. But instead, we have a 4th base on the way. We have an infestation bit on the way. Hydra Den as well. Double expanding. Dark, he's going for a longer game. He wants to go for a secure victory. He doesn't want to gamble with an all-in. Even though there's very little to defend, even though there's only 1 tank, I do think that Cure would have been vulnerable to a Roach timing. But that is not what Dark is going for. Dark wants to take his lead and extend it. And this time, he's rushing straight into Lungers. These +1 range upgrades and soon to be +2 range upgrades will not just impact these Roaches, but they will also influence the Hydras and the Lurkers as well. So really good setup here from Dark. Infestors are on the way for Fungals. Basically, Infestors, they're just a great complementary unit here to these Roaches. They support so well. They make up for some of the downsides here of Roaches, and that is their lack of splash damage, their lack of... yeah, splash damage. And even maneuverability. As the double drop attempts to get into the main base, but no, Dark is in position. And yeah, again, Dark, his goal here is to just turtle. Is to turtle on up, saturate his bases, deflect all these drops until he gets into Lurkers. Meanwhile, it looks like Cure, he has recognized the position he's in. He has recognized that he is taking the role of the aggressor, and he's now being active. Not just with this double drop on the right, but he has another double drop towards the center as well. And even these Banshees on the left. So it's on Cure to try to break Dark, try to create an opportunity for himself and get into a mineral line, kill some workers, kill some drones. We'll see if he can. Oh, as his main army's pushing on forward. How many tanks? 4 tanks. Not too bad. Not too bad, as Cure is expanding. He's taking a 4th base behind this. He took his gases as well, so he's not going for a 3 base all-in. But he has a bit of pushing power. He did. He's pushing into Lunkers, and yeah, nah, this is not going to happen. Lunkers are in position. I think the tanks are maybe within range. Ooh, they are within range of some of these Lurkers. Vipers have arrived. They can go for Yoinks if they want to. There we go. Yoinks are had. Dark not quite committing, not yet. Without Banelings, he can't really crash into this. With Vipers, he can, though. Vipers, he can. There's a couple more abductions are going to be coming in as well. A big fungal on the Bio Army. Yeah, and a blinding cloud, and Dark, he's just going to be decimating this force. Cleaning this up. This choke point against Lurkers, against Blinding Clouds, this was not the fight to take for Cure. As he plummets in supply, GG gets called, and Dark takes game number 2 and the series 2-0. GG. Oh my god. GG, well played. Dark looking really dominant here in this series, in the driver's seat for a lot of it. Again, we were talking about the back and forth that we saw in game 1, but here in game number 2, we saw that Cure was being punished for his opener. We mentioned it, but the fact that he did delay he skipped his Hellions, he delayed his Banshee production in favor of the Cyclone drop, it can be really cheeky, and we have seen that Cyclone drop work wonders on some of these larger maps, but on Near Humanity, we saw that Cure was punished. He was punished for moving out with, or building up towards this dedicated drop, for it to not really find too much damage, and Dark ignore it, go for his own Roach counterattack, and he killed, what, almost 20 SCVs with that first Roach push, and from that moment, Dark was pretty comfortable. He could have really gone for any kind of tech path from there. He could have gone for an all-in if he wanted to, but no, instead, he went straight into Lurkers just because of his lead, and yeah, once Cure saw the positioning of Dark, he felt a lot of pressure on him to just make something happen, to push himself up that ramp, and pushing into Lurkers is a really difficult thing to do. Especially when you just have a Marine tank army. So GG, well played. Dark will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. And with that, we are going to be getting into our next game. We're going to be getting into the grand finals. Oh, my apologies. How could I forget? Dark, he advances on into the grand finals to face off against his next opponent, and it should not be a surprise to you. It is going to be Dark versus Hero. Let's go. This is actually a rematch of last week's KSL, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we were lucky enough to cast last week's KSL via replays as well a couple of days ago. And it was Hero versus Dark as well. As to be expected. Hero and Dark, they are very active players in the online tournament scene, and they are respectively the best Zerg and the best Protoss in Korea, so it makes sense that they will face off very often in these online tournaments. Very often. Who won last week? It went all the way to the ace match. It went all the way to game 5, and Dark barely pulled off the reverse sweep. Hero was up 2-0, and then Dark won 3 games in a row to eventually barely overcome Hero and beat him in the finals of KSL number 27. Oh. So now it's time to do it all again.